Okay, so I'm making this video because most people think it is difficult to hear God. In fact, I've had experiences that people asked me, how do you hear God? How are you even sure it is God speaking to you? How can you hear God? Because culturally, will I say culturally or religiously, many people believe that to really hear God or experience God or feel God, it has to be dramatic, it has to be like always, you know, very spiritual, and a lot of drama has to happen. But in fact, recently, God has been teaching me how simple, the simplicity of how He is, how God is so simple, how God is relational, how God is vocal, how He is communicating. His communicating skills it's just nothing to be compared to what we've been told or what we've learned or what we have chosen to believe, because most times it is just an individual that does think to hear God or to experience God, it has to be in certain ways. Let me read something to you. Hebrews chapter 1 verse 1. It says, God, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in the past unto the fathers by the prophet. He said, hath in these last days spoken unto us by His Son. So that means God has styles of communication. God has mediums of communication. He has ways of communication. He can decide on how He wants to communicate, from where, objects, the situation, the drama. I wrote something. I said, God is vocal. That's one thing you need to know when you really want to hear God speak. You need to know that God is vocal. So God is vocal and very expressive. You need to know, sometimes you think God is shy or no, I don't know if shy is the right word, but we think God is just this kind of a serious God, but God is expressive. I said God is vocal and expressive, but at times we are just used to the sundry times. Remember that verse I read to us, Hebrews 1 verse 1 and 2, that says God in the time past, in sundry times, spoke through prophets, but now sometimes we are expecting God to speak through a burning bush, or you're expecting God to speak through the writings on the walls, or you're expecting God to speak through your dreams, whereas God wants to speak even through the object, right before your eyes. God can pass a whole message to you while you are in the bathroom, and you're thinking God has to speak when you are on your knees, eyes closed, well, serious. No, everywhere is just so serious. You think that's just the time God can speak? No. It is just so interesting how God can be so vocal and expressive. Just like what I said earlier, God has just been opening my eyes to how simple even the gospel is. Yeah, most times we think that there are deep things in God. There are deep things. I mean, serious deep things in God. But trust me, because naturally, I know I'm kind of this hard person. I know. So sometimes it overshadows my relationship with God. So I expect God to, not to be hard, but to be kind of like, God, this is, Sometimes, yeah, you do that some of the times too. Like you expect God to be serious, you expect God to be like, if what you can tell God, like this is the time to focus. But trust me, I've learned that God is simple, the gospel is simple, His word is simple. Is we've probably is a lie we told ourselves that there is a Nigerian Jesus or a Nigerian Holy Spirit, and there is we have the Europe Jesus or the African Holy Spirit, the American Holy Spirit, that understands the crying, just lifting up your hands to Jesus. You think that is Europe, you think that is America, you think that is not Africa. Holy Spirit is not like that in Africa. It's just like that. We want to, I'm very careful with what I'm saying. We want to see the power like everywhere, serious smokes, everywhere. We think that is just when angels are going to show. You think there is no God. In an average Nigerian, or let me say an average African Christian, you think if you are in a church or you attended a spiritual gathering or a meeting and people are not blasting in tongues and people are not falling down, or there's no drama everywhere, most people think there's no God here, because we've orchestrated this whole thing in our mind that this is how it has to be. I'm just here to just tell you, God is vocal, God is expressive, God is simple. God is simple. God can choose to speak through your dreams. He can decide to speak through. He even said, go and learn from the ants. God can speak through objects. He can speak through your thoughts. God is so simple. So even in your worship, don't believe that it is difficult to get to God. You think you have to press. I know there's a time. I know there is a level of all those things, but trust me, even as big as faith is, it comes with just believing, which to me, someone like me, is childish. Okay, I just believe and that's it. It has to be something serious. We want to think like there's something more than that. Like some people, when you tell them about salvation and you tell them just to believe, they think it should be something more serious. It cannot just be me just believing and that is it. It's because you've designed in your mind, in your thoughts. It is just, this is how it has to be. So I'm just here to just encourage you that God speaks in diverse ways. God is vocal, God is expressive, God is simple. It's not as hard as you think. It's not as hard as you think. Come to Him as a child. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be, all of that. Trust me. It is okay. It's okay. Because I don't know, probably it's just me, probably because I used to be the hard girl and I think everything has to be serious, everyone has to keep a serious face, if I look at you and I'm not seeing that focused face, I think you're not serious. Jokes apart, but seriously, sometimes we because of the environment we live in, because of our experiences, life has showed us stuff. We think it has to be like that with God too. No, it doesn't have to be that way. So that is why for some people it is difficult to understand the scriptures, because they think it just has to be, more serious than just this word I'm just reading that, and Jesus this. It has to be serious. Not that sometimes it's difficult for us to hear God, because when God is passing to us, simple things, it's just why it's easy for us to ignore the things from God. The simple dots. It's easy for us, because we are not used to this system that it has to come this way. We believe it has to always come with a struggle. So I'm reading again that verse. It said, God would at sundry times in diverse manner. So we need to know that God speaks in diverse manner. Even in the past, at sundry times, He speaks in diverse manners. He says, "Speak in time past unto the fathers by the prophets, but hath in these last days spoken to us by His Son Jesus." And trust me, if you read through, the epistles, Matthew, John, Luke, Mark, if you read all those, it's more like a story. It's very relational. God is relational. God is relational. I just think this is for someone. You really want to hear God, but you think it has to be a struggle. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. Another thing you need to know is that God is vocal, God is expressive, and God is relational. I hope this helps. Thank you for your time. Do have a blessed one.